Four Horsemen. The Four Horsemen are one of the most well-known devils in Chainsaw Man. The Control Devil, the Hunger Devil, the War Devil, and the Death Devil. We know about 3 of them, and they're 3 of the characters we've seen already in the show. We haven't seen the Death Devil yet, and so a lot of us in the fanbase are trying to come up with our ideas of who the Death Devil is, what their abilities are, and stuff like that. But I want to use this video to explain and talk to y'all about each of the 3 devils that we know right now and theorize about the 4th devil, the Death Devil, but also to talk about the prophecy of Nostradamus that Fabian talked about in the last chapter. So leave a like, subscribe to see more content like this, and hit that bell button consistently. And let's talk about the 4 Horsemen of Chainsaw Man. So a long time ago, the Weapons Devil and the 4 Horsemen all engaged in a brutal battle against Poshita in hell. But at the end of the battle, when the 4 Horsemen and the Weapons Devil was about to defeat Poshita, Poshita managed to get away and get to Earth and was in a weakened state. The state that we see Poshita at in the beginning of the story. And Poshita ends up meeting with Denji and basically bonding with Denji, and then the whole story of Chainsaw Man kicks off there. But this is the beginning of Chainsaw Man from what we know. From first thing we hear about the 4 Horsemen. When the 4 Horsemen lost Poshita, they managed to all get to Earth, and they all were searching for Poshita for a long time. But they could not find him because Poshita was in a whole different form, which is the red, cute dog form that we see Poshita in at the beginning of the story and throughout most of Chainsaw Man. They couldn't find them, and so they all decided to split apart. And from what we know so far, we don't know where the Death Devil is at, but we know that Fami was going to a high school that they show in part 2. We know that Makima went to the Devil Hunter Society and decided to become a member there. And we know that Yoru was like flying away as an owl across the world, because before they got to Earth during the battle, Yoru was I believe the only one that really got injured by Chainsaw Man, and was the one that really got like eaten a little bit by Chainsaw Man, and explains why she's like super weak at the beginning of part 2, or why she's weaker than she normally would be. And this was the last time that the 4 Horsemen really saw each other throughout the rest of the story until part 2, because all of part 1 we have Makima. So Makima was the first of the Horsemen that we met, and we didn't even know there was 4 Horsemen until chapter 84, when she talked to Kishibe and basically explained that there are 3 other devils, and basically they all make up the 4 Horsemen. And Makima was arguably the main villain of part 1. I definitely want to go into more detail about a Makima video, basically like an analysis video, and basically explain all the misconceptions about her, but that's gonna be a later video. I'm not trying to go into super detail about her now, but I just want to explain her history with the 4 Horsemen and her goals. So we learn at the end of part 1, basically with the whole Control Devil arc, that Makima's goal was to get rid of her other horsemen, which we learned in part 2 that all of the horsemen are girls, and basically they're all sisters. So these are Makima's sisters. So we learn at the end of part 1, when she talks to Kishibe, that her goal is to actually get rid of the other horsemen. She wanted to get rid of the Death, War, and the Hunger Devils, because the world would be happier without them, that everyone would live a better life. And she was going to use Chainsaw Man to do it, because Chainsaw Man has the ability, so like Poshita, Chainsaw Man has the ability that any person or any devil that they eat, they're erased throughout history. They're erased, like their history is erased, and also their concept is erased. So if there's a Hunger Devil or a War Devil or a Death Devil, if Chainsaw Man eats them, then their whole history and them as a concept will be gone. So if Denji eats the Hunger Devil, then there would no longer be hunger in the world. The concept of hunger would be gone. Same for the Death Devil and the War Devil. And Makima's idea to basically help the human race was to get rid of those devils. And it's crazy going back to part 1 and seeing that like Makima was really going to turn on her fellow sisters, because they always talk about how they're sisters and stuff like that, like, and going to turn on her fellow sisters, and that was her main goal in part 1. That's why she did all those things, like trying to control Denji, trying to basically do everything, because she was trying to take control of Denji, trying to take control of Poshita, so that Poshita / Chainsaw Man would do anything that she wants. And her goal was to save basically the human race, and also to stop, I'm believing, also the prophecy of Nostradamus, which we're going to talk more in the faming portion of the video. But it's crazy because, like, talking about it and saying it out loud, Makima was a bad person because of all the things that she did to not Denji, but Power and Taaki and to all the other devils and humans. Like, she controlled and manipulated every single person she has ever met, and she did a lot of heinous and evil things to do those goals. But her goals weren't necessarily evil, if you get what I'm saying. I feel like that's one of the misconceptions that people don't know about Makima, which I'm going to talk about in the Makima video that I make, is that Makima was doing those things. Like, the reason she was doing it wasn't evil, because she wanted to help the human race by getting rid of those devils and like to rid humans of those fears of those concepts. But she was doing evil things to get to that point, and also like getting rid of those three things could also be not as good as she thought it was going to be, and could also be like used as the ultimate control that she has over anybody, or the ultimate control that she has over the entire world, and would also just like feed into her as a person and feed into her ego and stuff like that. But Makima doesn't get her goal, and she ends up dying at the end of part 1 and is reincarnated as Nayata. And Nayata is a character we saw at the end of part 1 and is a main character in part 2. And she has no memories of her life as Makima, but she still has all the powers of being the control devil. And she's just a little girl that lives with Denji. Her goal is to go to school and get an education like Denji told her. And she basically wants to like live her life basically like as a human. And she doesn't really care about devils or humans like that. And she's just a little girl compared to like Makima. Makima was a grown woman and saw the world in a different way. But it just proves that like just because you're the control devil doesn't mean like that every single control devil that's reincarnated has the same goal as Makima or even as Nayata and stuff like that. But that's what we're gonna talk about for Makima for now. I want to get into the other devils, but like I'm definitely gonna make a video on Makima, like I said, and explain about her whole like abilities, her history, everything about her in more detail, and explain more misconceptions about her in her separate video, because she deserves one. And it's just she has too much content to just talk about in this one video. But I want to move on into the next devil, which is the war devil, which is Yoru, that we learn about in part 2. So like I said in the Makima section, Yoru was in the battle against Poshita in the very beginning of the story, and is actually, in my opinion, the one that took the most damage from the battle, because she ended up getting a little bit eaten by Chainsaw Man and actually lost some of her power. And so when we meet her in part 2, when she talks to Asa, she informs Asa that she's weaker than she was than before, because Chainsaw Man ate a piece of her, and now she can't do as much stuff as she used to back then. And so when we first see Yoru, she's actually in the form of like basically an owl thing. And so when all the 4 horsemen got to Earth and Makima went to the Devil Hunter Society, and then Fami went to that high school, Yoru was the one that just turned into an owl and basically was just roaming the world for the perfect host, which also was the perfect host. And right now, all we know for Yoru's goals is that she wants to defeat Chainsaw Man, and she wants to basically like get her revenge on Chainsaw Man. She doesn't really have any other goals than that, besides the fact that she does not want to work with her sisters or Fami at all. There's a part in the manga where Fami basically like confronts Asa and Yoru, and basically like after the whole the whole fight that they had, basically Yoru informs Asa that Fami is crazy and that she doesn't want to work with her or doesn't want to talk to her at all. So we can only assume that like after the whole fight with Chainsaw Man at the beginning of the story in Hell, I believe that like basically like that's when the sisters like really split off, like not even just like splitting off to do their own things, but split off in terms of like working together. And you could definitely tell that like maybe the Yoru is bitter at the rest of her sisters, because the rest of her sisters basically came out the battle unscathed. We don't know about the Death Devil or what happened to the Death Devil yet, but like basically came out the battle unscathed, while she's the one that actually lost some of her power and took the biggest like fall from the battle. But that's basically everything we could talk about Yoru for now. I want to talk about Fami. So Fami is like the main reason I wanted to make this video. So Fami is the Hunger Devil and has been roaming around basically the new high school that Denji goes to and Asa goes to right now. And she is part of the 4 horsemen. Like I said, she was part of the battle against Poshita / Chainsaw Man in Hell and stuff like that, and decided to actually go to that high school and basically like live there and basically just blend into society. And we learned that her goal is to actually stop the prophecy of Nostradamus. So we don't know exactly what the prophecy of Nostradamus is, but we know that it's something terrible that's going to happen to the world. It's basically like a whole prophecy, and it's based off of basically Nostradamus was basically a person that prophesied about the end of times that were in the Bible and stuff like that, and some of the stuff that they said came true. And I believe that Fujimoto is going to use some of that in this Nostradamus he's using for Chainsaw Man. That is basically, it's a prophecy of the end times of this world. And at the latest chapter, Fami talks about how the Nostradamus prophecy is coming true. The ultimate terror will soon descend on this world. If that happens, the age of humans will end, ushering in an age of devils. And basically she wants to stop that. She says if an age of devils comes, things like pizza and Chinese food will cease to be. And like at this rate, neither her nor Yoru will be able to stop the prophecy. And basically her whole goal that we learned from this chapter is that she wants to stop that prophecy. She wants to actually stop that because she actually likes the things that humans make, such as like food, because you know she's the Hunger Devil, the Famine Devil. So like she loves food and love stuff like that, and doesn't want an age of devils destroying all that. And when I first saw that, I was wondering, like, what is the prophecy of Nostradamus? I was like, what is that? So I was researching stuff like that, and like I researched about how Nostradamus was basically like predicting the end of times and stuff like that, like especially stuff that was like in the Bible. And so I was thinking about maybe the Nostradamus prophecy in Chainsaw Man, maybe an age of demons, like an age of devils, to be specific. Maybe like there's, because you know how devils and Chainsaw Man are stuck in hell. They're stuck in hell. They can't really like get through unless they die in hell, which is part of the whole devil cycle, which I talk about in more detail in my Poshita theory video if you want to go see it. But devils can't escape hell unless they're killed in hell and sent to earth, because the whole cycle of the devils. But another way that the devils can get to earth is by making a contract. If you make a contract with a human, some of them are able to get to earth, such as the fallen devil didn't make a contract with a human, but she made a contract with Famine and was able to get to earth because of that. The hell devil from part 1 managed to get to earth from hell by making a deal with basically 4 people and basically being summoned there. In the Santa Claus arc, the whole gang of devil hunters were sent to hell basically from a contract. So like there are ways to get around not dying in hell to get sent to earth, or even like there are ways to get from earth to hell, but normally you can't just go between the two realms that easy. And I'm thinking that maybe this prophecy of Nostradamus is going to be a way for any single like devil from hell or any human from earth to be able to go into either realms at any time without making a contract. Maybe like a doorway or something like that. And maybe that's what like the prophecy of Nostradamus is, because if every single devil from hell managed to get back on earth with no restriction and just do whatever they want, the human race would end. There's no person on earth that can fight all those devils. Like not even Denji can do that, because Denji got jumped by the nuclear weapons devil and the 4 horsemen and basically lost. So like no one can beat every single devil that comes out of hell. And I'm thinking that's what the prophecy of Nostradamus is, and that is just a gateway, that permanent gateway from hell to earth. And I think that's what Famian is trying to stop, and that's basically her whole goal. Her whole goal is to stop the prophecy of Nostradamus, and is trying to like basically like send these devils after Yoru and Asa throughout all of part 2. It basically, she's doing that because she has an ability, and her ability is that anyone that is like starving or in a state of starving, she's able to control. And she wants to control Yoru and Asa so that she can like basically stop Nostradamus with their power. She was gonna use Asa and Yoru like basically like work together, but she learned that like Asa and Yoru just cannot do what they need to do in the clutch to basically like save the world. And so she decided to like just fuck that, fuck like working with them. I'm just going to like basically like starve them and control them. And that was her whole goal in the Fallen Devil arc, was to do that. And so that's basically Famian's goal. And we don't know really her relationship with like Makima or like anything else. We know mostly that Yoru and Famian were like the closest ones and had the most interaction between the 3 of them so far, that what we've seen. But there's one devil that we haven't seen though, and that's the Death Devil. So the Death Devil is another part of the Horsemen, one of the sisters that we have no idea, is like, we don't know anything about at all. All we know is that the Death Devil was there at the fight against Poshita in hell, and we don't know anything else. In my opinion, I thought the Death Devil was going to be a primal fear, but I'm looking online a lot, and a lot of people are saying that the Death Devil might not be a primal fear, and I'll be surprised if she's not, because to be honest, death is like you would think death is a big thing that people fear. Like primal fears are devils that are like so feared by so many people and by so many things that like they're so powerful. Like for example, we as humans are born with an innate like basically like fear in our head of certain things, like for example the dark, heights, and stuff like that. And so a lot of people are not, I guess you can say like I'm losing track of what everything I'm saying, but just listen to what I'm saying. I'm thinking like, I was like, wouldn't death be a primal fear? But I guess not everyone's afraid of death. Like not everyone is afraid of dying and stuff like that. So I guess you could say it's not a primal fear, which kind of makes sense. But like you could also say that war and hunger and control are not also primal fears, because they're not something that everyone is afraid of. But they're like big fears to where like they're still as powerful as those primal fears. Like for example, whenever it was the Santa Claus arc, Makima was able to actually like fight the Darkness Devil, which the Darkness Devil, which is a primal fear, like one of the strongest devils, and was actually able to like get a little bit on toe and make the Darkness Devil bleed. So even though these like the four horsemen, these sisters are not like primal fears, they're still like really strong. Like if there's a tier of the strongest like devils, there's probably the primal fears at the very top, like 100%, and then the four horsemen are probably like 90%, like in terms of like tiers. Like if the four horsemen are like, if the primal devils are like A tier or S tier, then the four horsemen are like A minus B tier, if you're trying to get what I'm saying. But I think that's everything I want to say for this video. I could have went into more detail about more of the characters, but I want to save those for a more individual video because I would like to go into more detail about their whole history to do a video like that. I already did a video like that for Asa and Yoru, so if you want to go watch that, that will be at the end card. But I definitely want to make one probably for Famine and probably for Makima. The Famine one's probably going to like take way longer because I'm waiting on more information, like more details about her past to make a video like that. But I could definitely want to do a Makima / basically a Nayata video, and that's the next like big Chainsaw Man video I'm going to be working on while I'm waiting on the new chapter, which the new chapter is not coming out for the next like 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that. I'm gonna try and get that video out before the next chapter, but y'all know me. But leave a like, subscribe to see more content like this, and hit that bell posting consistently. And let me know down below anything you think about the Horsemen. What do you think about the Death Devil? What do you think the Death Devil's ability is going to be? What do you think they are? And let me know, what do you think about their past? Because like I said, I explained like basically what we know about their past, basically like the Horsemen, but we don't know a lot. We don't know everything. So let me know your theories down below. Y'all been doing that a lot in the Chainsaw Man videos, and I love reading y'all theories. So definitely let me know. And I'm gonna see you guys next time. Peace.